We're going to first start with an operator tier list. Now, like I said, I do these every 2 seasons, so it's been about 4 months. I haven't done one since Gizmo and Vlinder have been added to the game. I also usually break these up where I go over solos and then trios. Let's get into this. We're going to start with solos first. Now, I don't think enough has changed with Hatclaw to where she's not going to be S tier for solos. I think we can all agree she got nerfed a bit, but her kit in general is just strong solo. Being able to escape out of fights, being able to see what you're getting yourself into with the ultimate. The dagger is still one of the best abilities in the game. Hatclaw is still S tier. D-Wolf, I don't think D-Wolf's changing too much for me. He weirdly got nerfed this season, but I still think he's a decent operator for solos, so I'm going to put him in A tier. Mostly just because he's kind of got a kit a lot of solos like, because you have the smokes, you have the damage utility with the nades, but then you have the passive that can kind of potentially get you out of sticky situations where you can just run away quick. Pretty much nobody can catch you. If you get a gap and you have D-Wolf ult, then you're just gone, and the smokes can definitely help with that too. D-Wolf got buffed, I'd say. How so, Vote? How so? Let's see what Vote's saying, how this is a buff. Triple Blaster deploy time. His needs blow up faster. Wait, so this means you pull it out faster, right? But his base damage is reduced. I think this means, Vote, you pull the thing out faster. I don't think this means it blows up quicker. The triple blaster deploy time, to me that makes it sound like when you pull it out and it's ready to shoot, like when you pull the ability out. Damage reduced but ignores armor. This is just an all-around nerf. Like, you want to up people's armor mid-fight and it does less damage. I mean, this is better. I mean, it buffs his ult, but it's not like significant. 35 is good if it ignores armor because each blaster can one-shot. Yeah, but to me this makes it seem like it's only good if you're doing lineups or if you have somebody trapped. If you put 3 nades on them, it's a guaranteed kill, which it already should have been, to be fair. It was so weak before that it wasn't. My issue with this though is that most of the time when you're fighting, you're not going to get like a situation like, or just say you don't have like a guaranteed kill with it. I'd rather be people's armor up than just doing raw health. Like, if I know a guy's in a fuck's spot, I'd rather get him to like have to break his armor or break his armor and have to have him repair than him just being able to heal it, because the damage always felt pretty good. It was more of the issue is that it wasn't consistent. It takes too long to blow up. They're really predictable. You can hear them coming. You can't control them or place them as well as an actual frag grenade from like Shepard or Luna. I think it has the potential to one-shot people now, yeah, but you also deal way less, I guess, like damage overall when you don't do armor damage and stuff. People don't have to repair. So I still think this is a nerf. I don't think D-Wolf is that good. I put him only in A tier. This is again solos because I think he has like one of those kits that everything is okay and it gives you speed and it gives you smokes, which speed and smokes on solos kind of matters a lot. I want to go for Nox next. Now, does anybody know what the Nox change? This right here, when all squad mates are down or no squad mates. Okay, so it's no squad mates are present. His ult lasts longer and his knock lasts longer. Nox is essentially buff solo, right? With it being solo, you have a longer ult, and if you knock people, that last longer. I want to put that A tier as well. I still think Hatclaw is stronger, but Nox is one of those characters that if you get a good ult off and you understand how to play him and understand flank routes and like try to time, you know, your fighting well, like if you third party on Nox especially, like you have such an advantage. You have such a long ult and your knocks are so long that if you do kill people, you can almost always interrupt their res if they go for it. You can't put Nox S tier because he is genuinely so bad without his ult. The flashes aren't consistent. You can't rely on those at all. It's very easy to blind yourself. His disc is really strong, but you only have one of them, and that's like it. You throw that, then you're out, you know? There's a reason why Hatclaw's S tier is because she has a lot. She has 4 abilities in her kit. If you think about it, 2 flashes, 2 daggers, and her passive is so strong that even when you don't have a kit up, you're still like dangerous. Forcing longer revives is good, but doesn't make mid tier better. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The reason I'm not putting him S tier though is you're reliant on him being good if your ultimate does well. If you can't get anything done on your ult, you're back to square one. You're back to basically not much of a kit, to be honest. Again, if you're comparing flashes too, Hatclaw's flash will legitimately always hit if somebody looks at it and they don't shoot it instantly. Nox's flash, you can't argue that. Nox's flash takes way more skill, is way harder to use, and that's just a problem. Hatclaw is just a button mash. You can accidentally throw your flash and have like the greatest play ever. Yeah, if you give him 2 discs or something, then yeah, then it changes. Okay, Viren, even though I'd love to put him S tier, he's just not good for most people. If you can get strong with him, you can put him a higher, but the only benefit he really has is that he has the dash reset in solos, so a lot of times you can get a knock and get away, you know? But he's just not there yet. They need to buff his kit some more for sure. C4's knockdown can be good, but it's just consistently not, and it takes you have to have a lot of hours on Viren to get use out of him solo, I think. It's just all these operators operators above him are so much easier to pick up and get value out of over Viren. I'm only putting him there because you can do some crazy things with the dash reset solo. But again, you have to be comfortable with them. Tempest, I guess I have to put her at the same tier as Viren. She's very similar. Her ult, you could argue, is maybe a bit better, but it's also riskier. I don't like ulting Tempest solo because you obviously always risk somebody being able to hold your body as you come back or something, because the nature of solos is kind of ratty. You always have to worry about that. But I'd say her disarms are consistently more better than the C4s. I don't think her roll is as good as dash, but Tempest did get buffed this season to where she can shoot faster out of a roll. I definitely think that does make it better. The reset isn't as good. Drilled charges are broken. Love Tempest solo. Drilled charges are definitely the best part of her kit, especially when it comes to solo. You can't put her higher for the same reasons as Viren. It's easier to use Tempest than Viren for sure, but the roll reset doesn't play as good as like the dash reset. The ult is tragic in solos. Yeah, it doesn't get much use in solos. Tempest going in with half a kit. Yeah, but I have to put her in the same tier as, I think if I put Viren B, I have to put her B. Again, her roll and the disarm can be really good in solos, especially with the roll reset. They nerfed her roll, not buffed it. No, they did buff it. Once you roll, your gun comes out faster now. ZD and solo, everyone camping drill charge, easiest kills of your life. Yeah, that's the thing. If you can find the hack claws and drill charge them, it's over. But that's the problem, is actually finding them, right? Stinger, he's going straight to the top. He's a classic. He's probably the weakest of the S tiers, but he's just the solo classic. I mean, the smokes and the smoke wall is just always useful. Being able to use the med gun as your own heals. You can go super budget. Stinger's probably the most cost-effective way to play solo. You do not have to bring a lot to make his kit work. He's the best loot running operator. Yeah, I mean, just being able to heal yourself and have smokes is just so obviously nice for solos. He doesn't do anything special, but his just survivability is just really good, and that's pretty much the only reason. But again, I wouldn't want to put Stinger versus Hacklaw in a fight. Hacklaw's winning that almost every time just based on kit. But we're saying for solos, if a lot of people play solos in a way where they play kind of ratty or they play to loot run, they're trying to make money, then Stinger's a good option for that. If you're trying to fight and play solos, Stinger's not necessarily the best option. Did you knife your drill charge? Or yeah, that too. Byron's knockdown's better in ult Tempest wires and solo. Yeah, I agree. Next, here comes some of the hot takes. I wanted Toxic to be good solos, but I really tried to make her work, and I don't see it. I mean, it depends on playstyle, of course, but it just feels like when you're in a situation where you're 1vx, that Toxic's utility gets baited out very easily and people just wait. So like when you use smokes and stuff like that, I feel like people just wait, and the UAV I think is pretty easy to bait out as well. It's hard to time where you can actually get like a big advantage off of it. In theory, her kit works really well. I'm just saying from my experience, I would almost prefer to play any of these other operators above her in solos. I'd be willing to maybe move it. I think I'm starting to agree with you guys. Maybe I don't think that Toxic though is better than, again, this is just my opinion. Maybe I put Tempest down here with C tier with her. The cooldowns on her smokes are bad. Yeah. Toxic is the true definition of support. She doesn't really work in solo. Yeah, for me with solo, it comes down to getting use out of her passive and getting use out of her smokes. But then I just feel like the UAV a lot of times is too hard to capitalize off of in solo. And their stim is great, but it's like whatever. You're not buffing the whole team, you know. You can't get like crazy stacks on it, that sort of thing. Shepard, you guys know where I'm gonna put this. I think it's kind of usually floats around B or C. The hard thing for me with Shepard is that he's one of those operators that, like, I always say this in solos especially, if you go admin, you rush admin, you play solo Zerdam, he's S tier. But if you're not an admin, he's pretty much F tier. He gets decent utility out of his nades outside and stuff like that, but I usually float him around B or C because he's just so hit or miss. If you're inside, he's insane. But if you're anywhere else, he's really bad, especially for solos. Like, he literally has no use for his traps or ults or anything outside. You're pretty much running around just with nades. And the nades don't even do that well outside because you have such a short cook time on them compared to like Luna. So just keep that in mind. If you like Shepard, you need to get to a building quick because he can be an S tier agent. But if you play outside and stuff or you get stuck outside, he's terrible. Aluru, I don't know. Solo is just so weird for me. Again, if you can Aluru one trick, you have some crazy wall jumps or stuff like that, or you're really strong with his rocket, he could be good. But I just don't see him being something that like you should pick over these other operators in solos. Like, he really only has a molly as far as I'm concerned for something that's actually really good. I think his rocket's too inconsistent, and the walls I don't see you getting too much use out of in solos. Again, unless you're finding some cringe spots or doing some weird like wall jumps and stuff like that. But I think you're pretty reliant on his molly, and just having one ability for solos is not that strong. Yeah, the rocket also takes you out of the fight. Saniva, I don't know, bro. Like, with the buff, he could be better, but I just hate him in solos. I just don't think he's that good. I haven't played him in solos yet, though, so I don't know. Maybe I could put him higher, but I always just feel like as soon as you have your shield out, you're at an incredible disadvantage. Like, they can do anything in that moment. You're alone. It's not like the whole reason Saniva's good is because of the pressure he puts out with his teammates. If you're a solo Saniva pushing, you're almost always just dead. If you don't get instantly bashed on the ground point blank, you pretty much win the fight. You have to really play the fight bad if you have distance on a solo Suniva to lose. He's very good unless he faces a really good player. I don't know, pretty much any one of these operators above him can just use any sort of one of their abilities and have like a big advantage over him. Again, this is solos. I'm just going over solo tier list. I think Suniva is really strong in team play. I just think if you're queuing in solo, it's just not it. I could put him maybe D tier, but I don't know. Gizmo. This is an interesting one. Even with the Gizmo nerf, he still feels ridiculously strong to me. He flies in the same boat as Shepard, but I think he gets more utility outside than Shepard does. His smokes are insanely good. So I would say with just that in mind, he's already got a huge leg up on Shepard because you can obviously smoke yourself outside. I'm going to put him in A tier. It's A or B. It's the same thing though. Like if Gizmo's inside, he's literally one of the strongest operators in the game right now. Trying to push a Gizmo is ridiculously difficult. So if you can lock down an area, I think Gizmo's better than Shepard right now when it comes to like trap engineers. But I think he's got that leg up because he can actually be decent outside. Like you can have instant smokes. If you actually can close the gap, you can throw Tim, like you can throw your ultimate spider and potentially net people in the open. Again, it comes down to a playstyle thing. You have to kind of try to focus on playing indoors. But if you time your utility right in Gizmo and you're trying to you get pushed, like Gizmo just destroys people with the spiders. Yeah, it's ridiculously difficult to push him. The spider nerf wasn't enough on this just regular hive, not his ultimate. It's just too strong with this smoke. It's too ridiculous to try to push and deal with. Smokes make him A tier for sure, super important. So yeah, I think smokes matter a lot for sure. Like, you know, Stinger and D-Wolf are both F tier agents if you don't have smokes on them, right? For solos, like solo smokes matter a lot. Luna, she goes S tier. She's obviously the operator I play at most probably while playing solo, both on solo fill and Iron Man. Her shocks, her nades, her recon. I mean, you deal damage, you get recon. It's just, she's always too strong. And she's good everywhere. There's really not a downside to playing Luna. I guess you could argue like you're obviously at a disadvantage indoors versus like a hack claw. You can't always scan and find rats in solo mode with Luna, but I think that's pretty much the only way you're at a disadvantage in a fight is if you get like ratted like hard and you have no idea they're there, which obviously happens a lot. But I think in most other scenarios, if you figure out where somebody is, your kit almost has an advantage over everybody in a solo 1v1. Raptor, I think I'm gonna put A tier as well, purely because, and the only reason I'm not gonna put him S tier, he doesn't have good offensive ability. You could pretty much find anyone. You can use your drone, you can figure out where people spawn, you can obviously find the footsteps, you can find where people are, you can use your EMPs to clear stuff. The problem is there's no like real way of, I don't know, like pushing or having that like good offensive pressure. I mean, you can argue the EMP you can sort of do that with, but again, just looking at the other operators above him, all of them I think are, besides Stinger, all of them I'd rather like aggress with. But I think he's too valuable because he's one of the only operators that you can actually potentially find hack claws while not playing hack claw. Like his recon ability in solos is really strong. Being able to find people in solos is really important, but I think you're just at a disadvantage in most fights. I wouldn't put him as S because he doesn't have, like, he's similar to Stinger in that way, but he doesn't have the smokes and stuff and the self heal. I think that he's just really good for information, but that's about it. Finally, Vlinder. Now, I never played Vlinder in solos. She has a really good heal and she has smokes. So just because of those two things in solo, she's already a lot higher. You have to realize in solos, you have the advantage of you'd be faster to heal than pretty much everybody else. So what you do is if you guys get into a fight, your armor breaks, you're low, you toss a heal on yourself as you repair while the other guy still has to repair and heal, right? In that scenario. And then you also have the overshield where you can actually tank a lot more than pretty much everybody else with her ult, running and healing as well. I'm going to put her at the top of A tier. I was actually contemplating putting her in S tier, but I haven't played her. Again, guys, it's solos. Smokes and heals in solos are insane. Like just straight up. I don't know exactly how well her overshield would do in solos, but the fact that her ultimate actually gets used in solos is important because if you look at a lot of these other people's ults, they're not that great in solo play, right? I think Stinger's smoke wall is too good a lot of times for solos for like budget runners or loot runners and stuff. But if you really think about it, I think Vlinder fits that gap almost like a, not an upgraded Stinger, but like I feel like with Vlinder, you'd want to fight more in solos versus Stinger. You could play her similar to Stinger because you have the self heal and the smokes, but with the overshield and the way she throws her smokes, you can play a lot more aggressive than Stinger. I think you could also push into fights while healing. I think she's like kind of like a similar playstyle as Stinger, but you can actually fight more aggressively with her. What makes Stinger higher in her? Just the extra smoke. I'd say the smoke wall and the extra smoke, but then also just how easy he is to play. Vlinder definitely has a higher skill ceiling. It's hard to get consistent with their smokes, and the heal is a bit harder to use, I'd say, than the stim gun and not as quick. It's kind of like an ease of use thing, but I think if you're comfortable and you understand her kit in solos, you can actually play her pretty aggressive aggressive and be good. I am actually curious when I play solo Phil or my Iron Man again, when I boot those back up, I actually am curious to play her and see how it does. What are we thinking? What are we thinking of this tier list? Raptors B, great for intel, useless in fights. Yeah, I tend to agree. I put him at the bottom of A tier, but I could see that putting him in B. I think a lot of people like Raptor in solo though. It just comes down to a playstyle thing too, because I don't enjoy him. It doesn't mean he's not good. Seems like for the most part everyone's agreeing though. I agree Shepard should be higher. Remember, Shepard's S tier if indoors, F tier if outdoors. That's why he's in the middle. Viren could be S tier if you're really strong with him, but it takes a lot of practice. Otherwise he's really low. That's why I put him in the middle as well. Raptor and Vlinder are kind of experiments putting them that high. It depends on a playstyle thing for sure, but I think they can both be really strong. Okay, I think that is our solo tier list. I feel good with that. Now here's where it gets interesting. We're just gonna go down the list, all right? Can't wait to argue some of you guys on these. Bang. You knew it was coming. D-Wolf his ass. Yeah, I love the guy, man. Especially if you just look at the assault operators. Like, let's just take a look at, you know, these 4 assault operators. I feel like so far behind these other ones. I don't know. Now, here's what I'll say. There's some D-Wolf 1 tricks out there that are great. If you can get really comfortable with his slide and his movement, he can be really good. But he just doesn't have the ability to 1vx like I feel like all the other assaults have. You have his ultimate, right, which can slowly self-heal as you get knocks, but that's all he's got going for him. I don't think the extra speed is usually a huge difference maker, and I feel like his ult compared to the rest of the knockdown, the no footsteps, and the second life as Tempest is just like, they're not really comparable. People like him for lineups. You can do lineups with them and he's decent, but in actual team play, I think you are swallowing up a spot in your team comp that is hurting you. I think that there's much better options for him, because at the end of the day, he's going to be taking as that flex slot. Like, if you look at it, I think right now in trios Delta Force, the smartest way to play it, if you don't like do some cringe triple stack of the same operator, you have a support operator, you have a recon operator, and then you have a flex operator. And I think D-Wolf takes that flex slot. And what I mean by flex is it could kind of be anything, but a lot of times it's going to be an engineer or assaults. Out of all the engineers and of all the assaults, he's literally the worst option. Assuming your support has smokes. Yeah, but I don't think there's any support that doesn't have smokes, right? When I mean support, I truly mean support. I mean, it's going to be pretty much right now, I'd say Toxic or Vlender. Next, Viron is very similar to how I'm going to put him in the solo tier list. If you ask me, he's S tier, but if you ask most of the player base, he's not. And that's just because I'm comfortable with Viron and understand how he should be played. I feel like at a higher level, he's got a ridiculously high skill ceiling, but for most players and most trios, he's not going to be that strong. You have to put in a lot of hours for him to make it worth it, and your teammates have to be behind you. It's as simple as the comparison as a Valorant Jet. Jet at a super high level is extremely good, but most people picking her up aren't going to be that strong, and you have to set up the Jet. You have to set up the Viron. You have to play around the Viron, and most people don't want to do that, and most people don't know how to do that, so he's not that good. It's just a skill curve thing. I hope we see a buff with him this season. He's pretty much the only assault that hasn't been touched much in terms of balance. I think he needs a buff, especially with Tempest being as strong as she's been for as long as she's been in the game. But yeah, I think you could play him as S tier, but for most people it's going to be lower on the list, so I'm going to put him in the middle. Nox with a buff again this season, I'm going to put it A tier. It's a similar thing to a Viren where you kind of have to play around your Nox, but he's just super strong at being super interruptive and super annoying to deal with. If a Nox ult is going off, it's literally one of the scariest things in the game, especially if you're Nox ulting when there's chaos happening. You almost always get value. His disc in certain chokes just annihilates people. His disc is one of the strongest delays in the game. If you can hit a disc on multiple people, it's like you have just an insane advantage in the fight. Flashes are part of the weakest part of his kit. I hope to see them still buff them in the future, but I think his disc and his ultimate are just like really strong right now. Especially it is a little more map dependent. He's not the best outside, but pretty much anywhere indoors, he's just a fucking menace to deal with, especially if your teammates are willing to play around the Nox and understand that, like, if they can, you know, distract or pressure, then just how much more stronger the Nox becomes is really good. Well, the thing with the Viren C4 though is that you should be able to choose it. I think that's the big thing the Viren's missing, is that you should be able to cook it like a grenade. It's either you can throw it and instantly tap the button again and explode it. Maybe it does less damage when it does that because there needs to be balance to that, but there should be a way to cook it. Or you can throw it and let it go off on the normal timer. Everyone becomes a sentinel if Nox ult goes off. Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, instant C4 throws and detonations are not healthy, I agree. But they should add it. It should just be at a much like reduced damage. Like it should just be the longer the fuse goes, the more damage it does. If you insta pop it around the corner, it doesn't do that much damage, but you can at least get that damage off. Okay, but Nox, I think we all agree with that. Nox is really oppressive and really strong right now. It is top heavy relying on the ult, but when you're in a trio, you have more like leeway for sure. So I think the Tempest is S tier, no doubt. I wish they'd nerf her into the ground. Honestly, we've had 2 seasons of her being pretty dominant. It's the reason why Viren is so weak too, though. It's just you have to compare it to Tempest. Tempest is very similar to Viren, but her disarm is better than the C4, and her ultimate is just a second life. You know, it's just way stronger than Viren's knockdown. Tempest is pretty brain dead. You can almost always get value with her, even if you don't know what you're doing. Even if you have somebody on the game who doesn't know what they're doing, you can just use her ultimate as info, as recon. You could argue on certain maps you don't even have to run a recon if you have a Tempest, and you guys are just willing to move off of her ult. Her just skill curve is way lower than like something like Viren. It's the easiest operator to probably pick up in the game and just get immense value from immediately. Every part of her kit is super strong. Roll's good, disarm's good, ult is ridiculous. How would you nerf her though? You have to just nerf her ult, go back to how it was. You can't go as far with the ropes, can't go as long. Probably limit how many times you can die in the ult. If you die 3 times in the ult, then you have like, you maybe have to be res by your teammates. Maybe you get 3 self-reses or something. It shouldn't be, basically you just have to limit the way that it's spammed. Because right now the way Tempest is played is every time the ult's up, you just use it pretty much. Like you can always do something with her ult. You know, sometimes you use ult just to bait people to push and stuff. There's no downside to spamming her ult, and that's a problem. I played Tempest and Triple Tempest nonstop in season 6, but that was purely to deal with cheaters. It was the best cheater. It's the best anti-cheater operator in the game, which is great. I love being able to on cheaters and stuff, but cheaters aren't much of a problem as they were in the past. She can still be good versus cheaters, but she doesn't have to be like a 90% pick rate on certain maps and like just have all these like consistent uses across every map. I think she is one of the things that makes her feel like a bigger issue is just the fact that you can triple stack operators. I think if you can't triple stack operators, she's less of an issue. Dealing with one Tempest is not that big of a deal, but what you run into a lot is people that run double or triple Tempest, and then it becomes really annoying. But regardless, her whole kit's really good. She's easy to pick up. She always gets value. She's definitely S tier. Best assault in the game, hands down. Stinger, I'm only going to put above D-Wolf because of Stinger's passive of being able to bring your teammates back up to 100 HP from a full die is really nice. His kit is good. It's just underwhelming compared to the other supports, right? You can't be upset about a smoke wall, and a heal. He's good. It's just the others are too strong. That's pretty much as simple as how he is. If you play really defensively though, and you're fast on reses, then he's really strong. If your Stinger's willing to play more passive and play more defensively, you're almost always going to get good use of him. Yeah, Stinger's great. It's just the others I think are just a little too overtuned. Stinger needs a significant buff to be able to compete with Toxic and Linda right now. Toxic, another automatic S. Really not much needs to be said here. I think she's just been the best support forever, pretty much since she's been in the game. All of her abilities are strong in both offense and defense, which is something she has on the other supports. UAV is super good to push with. UAV is super good to delay with. Smoke is super good to push with. Smoke's super good to delay with. It's the best smoke in the game. It's the best choke smoke in the game. It blinds people. It's super oppressive. The stem just feels good, can buff all of your teammates, and then the passive is arguably one of the best passives in the game, where you have faster repairs and heals when you have a Toxic in your squad. So Toxic needs to be nerfed, I think, pretty bad, just because I think there should be some more variety in some of these comps and stuff. It just feels like Toxic is super easy to use, and she's fun, but she's just like, if you're playing the game seriously, if you don't have a Toxic in your comp on pretty much every map, I think you're kind of trolling. She's just that good. But yeah, Toxic S tier for sure. Shepard, I'm gonna put him lower too than probably people suspect here. Shepard for me has just become a weaker Gizmo. He's just still, he suffers the same thing. Shepard just doesn't get much value outside, and I just think there's better flex picks for him right now. His kit's fine, but again, he's S tier if he's indoors, but I think he's pretty much F tier if he's anywhere else. Uluru, I'm gonna put B tier as well. His mollies are just really, really good. I mean, he's got some of the best delay in the game with the rocket and molly. He's a good support. I think it kind of depends on your playstyle if you want to play him, but having to deal with Aluru's guarding chokes is like really annoying. I think his walls are still pretty rough. They're not very good, but people are starting to find better uses for them with like different like peeks or jumps you can do with his walls. And then you can obviously res behind the walls. He's all right. He's in the middle of the pack, I'd say, but he is good outdoors and inside, that sort of thing. Allure is pretty good in most situations. Here's the interesting one, Siniva. I haven't played him enough yet to really know, and I haven't played enough against other Sinivas. He's stronger than before, for sure. He's not as overwhelming as I thought he'd be. I think I'm going to put him in A tier for now. Again, this is one of those operators that the player who's playing him has to know what they're doing. His teammates have to kind of buy into it. You have to play around the Siniva. That's the downside to him, is that a solo Siniva, again, isn't good. Siniva can't be good good by himself. You have to kind of rely on your other teammates to set him up. His whole kit got changed, right? I mean, he's buff. He feels good. He gets picks when he kind of has that like chaos that he can mess around with, but I don't think he's as good as people thought. You guys still think he's D or C? Really? If you play against a good team with Suniva, it's really difficult. Easy break his glass shield. Yeah, if the Suniva's giving it to you, but good Sunivas aren't just going to sit there and let you shoot him. I thought more people would want me to put him higher. I might be willing to put him B. Again, if you look at like these other operators, like if I put him B tier, these other 3 operators I have above him are pretty easy plug and play. It doesn't take a genius on Nox to know when his ult's going off that he can just run at people with no footsteps and get some decent value out of that. Or same with Tempest Ult and same with Toxic Utility. I feel like Suniva is really good right now, but it requires a player who's played a lot of Suniva to get good value from him. He's not as easy to pick up and just be like a god with. Okay, I think I'm willing to put Suniva B. I think that makes sense. Gizmo, I'm gonna put A tier, probably the top of A tier. He is probably, I think, yeah, the best engineer in the game right now. His smokes are ridiculously good. Probably got the second best smokes behind Toxic, and his utility, if you try pushing it, is just super hard to deal with, and you can be aggressive with him too. I think he's a really fun engineer to play that doesn't feel like you have to play as slow or like trap based. I almost want to put an S tier, but I think he's just not quite as strong as some of these other operators. And Gizmo again takes a little more brain power to play and make really good use out of him, whereas some of these operators in S tier, it's kind of just like is not that difficult to get like good value out of them. But yeah, I think Gizmo's ridiculously strong right now. I think even with the nerf, he's still really good. One of the most annoying operators to push in the game, if not the most annoying, but he can also be played aggressively, and his smokes are really good and instant. He's got the fastest smokes in the game, I'll tell you that. And I really enjoy playing him. I think he's cool. And Gizmo is bad outside compared to some of these other operators, but I think because he has his smokes, he can be decent. You can close the gap on Gizmo, and like his ultimate can still get value outside. If you can somehow net somebody outside, that could be really strong. Luna, obvious S tier. Luna has pretty much been S tier since the game's release. I don't see it changing too much. She's kind of just a staple of the game. Don't have to go into her too much. A bad Luna can get value, but obviously good Lunas, it's like the best operator in the game, I'd say. You're always good in any situation, offensive, defense. So you get good info, you can deal good damage, you have great delay, good support, you can aggress with her. There's no question here. I'm not going to go too in depth on her. I've said the same every tier list. She's just the best, and she has so much utility. Now, Hacklaw's the interesting one. I don't know. I really don't. Does she still go S tier, or with the nerf, do you put her A tier? What do you guys think? Damn, it's kind of even. I think I'm still leaning to put her into S tier. I think I will probably put her like at the bottom of S tier. The nerf wasn't substantial enough. She doesn't feel as bad. Like before, if you asked me in season 7, she's the best operator in the game, hands down. I don't think she is necessarily anymore. I do think her is still incredibly annoying to deal with, and if you have a good Hackhaw player, she's still too strong. She still needs a nerf. Her data knife is still one of the best, if not the best abilities in the game. Has way too many use cases. Flash nerf is good. The audio nerf is good. I still think you could probably nerf her a little more though in terms of audio. She's not as much of a one-man army as she was, but she's still incredibly annoying to deal with, and she's still the best recon indoors just because of her scan. I think almost every aspect of her kit should be nerfed a tad. The ult maybe not so much, but the data knife needs a nerf. The flash you could argue needs a little bit more of a nerf. It's not as bad. Maybe you don't need a nerf for flash. And then her passive I still think is too strong. I don't think her passive should last forever. There should be like some sort of timer on it. All right, Raptor's an interesting one because I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's literally not fun enough to play. And it's almost like he needs a buff or something. I don't know. Like I kind of want to put him like C or B tier, but like a good Raptor is extremely annoying to deal with. It's just that he's pretty boring to play, so nobody really plays him. He gets really good info. The EMPs can interrupt every ability, is really annoying to deal with, can interrupt reses. His kit is good. Again, it's just probably not as good as Hacklaw or Luna's recon, but it's just different. It's just different, and you have to play a different way. You have to play slower. You're just annoying. You're annoying to deal with. It's out of the fight for most recon, true. He is out of the fight when he's getting good value. He's not really able to be shooting, but he still is really strong. I think he's just boring. I wanted to put him higher, but I guess when you just compare it to other operators, there's just better options. I think like good Raptor players could make this guy S tier though, and he's really annoying to deal with. It's just that you don't see it happen often because he's just got such a boring kit. Finally, Vlinder, I'm going to put her in A tier as well. Some people may put her in S tier, and I think with more playtime, we could maybe see her be an S tier operator. The only issue I have with her is that if you compare her to Toxic by herself, she's just not as good offensively. Vlinder is probably very close to Toxic defensively, but she just doesn't have really that offense. And now you can argue that you can use her overshield, her ultimate, to push with and be strong with, but then I think you're doing a disservice to her kit if you don't have the drone available for a res for your teammates. Using the overshield a lot of times when you have your squad up is kind of troll. Her ultimate, I think, is also really carrying her kit, and I think the fact that you can do multi-reses with her ultimate during one ult is kind of carrying her kit. Her smoke's good, but it's nowhere near as good as Toxic smoke, and then her heal is good. You could argue it's better than Toxic stim, but then ultimate wise, I think that Toxic's UAV is still stronger than Vlinder's ult, at least offensively. My whole point with her putting her in A tier over S is that Toxic is tried and true tested, and it's easier to use. Toxic's kit is much easier to use than Vlinder's kit. Vlinder's kit is really strong. It's just not that good when you're alone solo, or if you are playing at like a disadvantage or you need to play aggressive. Like Toxic's kit is just so much more aggressive by herself, like offensively. Like she's just better. Most Vlinders in a 1v1 versus Toxic are just at a big disadvantage. Yeah, Swift, but as I just explained, I think if you're using the overshield on Vlinder when your teammates are up, I think that's troll. I've already killed a couple Vlinders this season where they tank a lot of bullets, yeah, or they tank a red M61 to the head or something, but then once you do knock them, or if you knock one of their teammates, then she doesn't have her ult for the res. Her ult for the res is kind of what carries her to be so good. Can you explain how the overshield works? I don't know the exact numbers. If you basically use her ultimate on yourself other than trying to res a teammate, she just has like a much higher increased health overshield thing, I guess, and you just can absorb more damage than usual. I don't know the exact numbers though. I think we knocked out the operator tier list. I'm pretty happy with those as well.